or perspective evolved over the years with respect to disabilities?
Oh, yeah. So thank you so very much. So this is one very important, topic that has evolved over time. We should be aware that disability as it was construed in the past is no longer the same today. In the past, we would be thinking of a disability being caused by, traditional thoughts, such as, thinking like it is caused by curses, caused by witchcraft, or maybe ancestral spirits, or as punishment for wrongdoing. And apparently, religion is broad. Even in Christian circles, you find, even if you read the Bible today, you'll still find, the connotation of disability being construed in that sense, that it may be punishment from God. And so these constructs have really evolved over time. In the Zambian perspective, it has affected the way persons with disabilities actually interact and integrate in their own communities. So people with disabilities being thought of being people that have, possessed spiritual powers or unique gifts. Families equally over time have experienced quite a lot of stigma and shame. And not only families themselves, the children themselves with disabilities failing to actually integrate into their own communities because of stigma and shame. In other countries, of course, even in Zambia, we have had spaces where persons with disabilities are killed and used for ritual activities. All these are cultural perspectives that have dehumanized, disability. Negative beliefs, some cultures. Also, of course, we have had some cultures, and even in Christian circles, we have had some cultures that have valued and cared for persons with disabilities. But this is not the case today. As we speak, we've made tremendous improvements. One or two issues that, relate to negative cultures still exist here and there. But we've made progress in trying to introduce, very important programs in education, on radio like this one that we have, to change people's perspectives, change people's, cultures. In that now we consider disability not as an inability, not as a case, not as something that comes as a result of witchcraft. So education has worked so tirelessly to change the mindset, to change the cultural perspectives, and now we can talk about disability as a loss of function that simply needs compensation, and the person continues to work and integrate well in their own community. They should access education, they should access social services, all other social services. And so that is where we are now. But we are not ruling out the fact that negative cultural attitudes still exist. Recently, I've written an article, Boniface, that has highlighted, culture takes quite a long period of time. It doesn't actually change. It's evolving. Just like the best word you have actually used, evolution. So people are being born. They are being born into existent cultures. They carry on with those cultures. So the myths, the beliefs still go on. And that means that education should continue going on. Recently, I've written an article that has unearthed a perspective on how disability is construed in music, Zambian music in particular. And I picked two very important songs that have depicted and have compared disability to the so-called normal in our society. Such kind of comparisons still, take us backwards to the ancient days where we thought that persons with disabilities cannot make it in life. And that is against the principle of inclusion. And so we will continue to work hard as media, as education, as advocates, okay, as persons with disabilities organizations, to ensure that we sensitize people against stigmatization, stereotyping, and enhance inclusion.
You've spoken to how also music and this relates to now the use of language insofar as disability is concerned, and even in the proverbs and idioms that are used in so far as culture is concerned. You may speak to the impact that those have.
Okay, so the impact is really bad, because then psychologically you affect someone's self-image. Okay, their ability to actively participate in social activities. I was I think doing a presentation of a paper one day, and I was saying, if I am listening to this song in my car, this song is so good, it has a very good beat, and a person with a disability equally deserves to dance to this song with such kind of a tune. But the further you go listening to its meaning, you will find yourself being one of those segregating persons with disabilities, being one of those stereotyping. Are you getting me, Boniface?
Yes, I can get you, Doc.
So you are with the person with a disability in your car, in your home, listening to such kind of a music, then at the end of the day, you find that you have played a piece of music that is stereotyping, and the person just doesn't feel part of the environment. So you are already excluding, and so that is an impact. So you exclude persons with disabilities from their social environments, you exclude them from accessing social services, you exclude them from all activities that they are actually supposed to actually participate in. Proverbs have been used negatively, and that these are things we need to now go further to actually address, especially that they are more used in our rural areas, in our local community and traditional communities. And once used negatively to impact persons with disabilities, then we affect their future. So I think the impact is huge. They play more of the exclusion. Yes.
And how has that maybe evolved? Take, for example, we are talking about the right-based model, which also is also affecting the current culture, and also considering disability as a human diversity issue. How has that impacted maybe culture insofar as maybe the use of the first-person language, where you prioritize personality, then disability comes second? Take, for example, you call a person with a disability and not a disabled person. How has that been translated into our day-to-day use of language in our local languages especially?
Language is critical. Language is critical. And sometimes, just like I have mentioned the issue of music and the article that I wrote, sometimes those who compose these songs, those who compose the proverbs, those who compose, perhaps do this unconsciously. And we have a duty, as media, we have a duty as educationists to reach out to sensitize so that they realize the other side of that story, that we engage persons with disabilities to review, for example. Now, the issue is that, again, that question you have asked, did I get persons with disabilities, first person, second person? So we need to see the human being first, okay, rather than the inadequacy, what we consider as the inadequacy. So we, in the inclusive kind of arena now, are promoting that we don't call a person with a disability a disabled person. When you are saying a disabled person, you are seeing the disability first. and not second, the person. But that shouldn't be the case. The issue is that we see the person first before we find the need. By the way, every human being has got a special need. And so for us to see the disability first, it becomes quite unfair, specifically referring to this category, just because they have a characteristic that defines them. That would actually be unfair. Because for me, if I'm a short-tempered person, for example, would I be happy to be called by my temper first and not to be seen as a person? So we want to encourage people, listeners, that we really need to actually see the person first. That is their dignity. That's the dignity. The dignity of a human being is that they are a person first place.
Yes. And speaking of dignity, obviously, in the use of day-to-day language, there were some words which seem to be objectifying the person. Instead of saying, for example, each is saying umulema, and then you say ichilema. So that indicates an inanimate, but there is slight change insofar as the use of terms now you focus on umulema as opposed to ichilema or ifilema.
So that's what I've been saying, and it would be interesting if you would definitely read that article, because it's really referring to those same terminologies in the use of music, in the use of language, and how it has actually impacted persons with disabilities. So we have a duty now to actually get into writing, refine our cultural perspectives, our language. You know, language is something we're using every day. So, and like I've said, sometimes we use it unconsciously. So we need to get to the core of what actually brings about this continued use of negative language. Maybe on radio like this, we identify such kind of terms like the ones you have mentioned. We identify ways of communicating and advocating against such kind of use that dehumanizes persons with disabilities in particular. So we have a duty to refine our language, we have a duty to refine our cultures and ensure that persons with disabilities feel wholly included in our discourse, in our inclusive societies.
Thank you so much. And maybe what would be your concluding message with respect to maybe recommendations to various stakeholders insofar as promoting positive cultural elements with respect to persons with disabilities and how we view disability in general?
Thank you very much, Boniface. We've done a lot so far. We are guided by the legal frameworks. We are guided by the inclusive education policies, the Disability Act. Zambia, we have done a lot. We are guided by the UNCRPD, and I can now see a lot happening. Like ZNBC, the way you are doing it now, once in a while you invite an expert like me to talk about or to talk to these issues. So together we can actually do better. And I'm sure that Zambia in particular is moving a step forward. With the inclusion of persons with disabilities in most institutions, now even the election time, for example, we are advocating that persons with disabilities are included in the activities. We avoid, stereotypical language during our campaigns where persons with disabilities are participating, and ensure their inclusion, particularly in this political space where people would at all costs want to, win a position by dehumanizing or personalizing issues, but rather consider ourselves as a diverse society with different talents, different, strengths to be able to offer to our communities. So I think we have done a lot, but we can still do better. Thank you.
And Doc, before we let you go, what have you done as the University of Zambia in ensuring that, persons with disabilities, included and not, feel left out in acquiring their education at the highest learning institutions? We've had a number of, your students recount on the challenges they've faced, in trying to access education from the highest learning institution. Quickly, if you can take us through some of the strides that the University of Zambia has made in addressing these challenges faced by this section of people in our society.
So we appreciate, and I appreciate your question. The University of Zambia, as you are aware, is an icon for this country. And we definitely have done a lot. We may not have done much, but we've done a lot. One of our products is actually there, Boniface himself. I didn't know him until he came to seek services from our department. So the university has a department of special needs that has actually helped to sensitize people to access higher education in the university. And currently, as we are speaking now, we have huge numbers of persons with disabilities in different faculties now. Humanities, natural sciences. Just on Monday, I was invigilating students with disabilities from different schools, not from education alone. So that is how far we have gone. We have had, just from the cultural perspective that we are talking about, we have had a challenge of not having a policy. But although the legal framework, which is a national instrument, is available, we haven't had the institutional policy. But we are working on the institutional policy already, and our persons with disabilities, students with disabilities, are actively participating in actually developing that policy. Professor Daniel Njovu, you must have spoken to him one day, that he is chairing that committee to ensure that a disability policy helps to make the university work more effectively in offering services to students with disabilities. So it's not only about providing access, it's also about providing services. We offer assessment services in the university for screening and assessment, and we have expert staff there. So there is a lot that they have done, that we have done. There is also a lot that we can do to help persons with disabilities access higher education in Zambia.
And what is your final word to the stereotypes in society that, would not be friendly or even accommodative, even as we look at the cultural aspect?
Yeah. So my final word is we have a responsibility to make our communities, our societies inclusive. Only with inclusive concepts. I'm happy that even the current curriculum is actually driven by the inclusive, principle, meaning that even the country, in terms of policy and legal frameworks, they are quite strong on that. Right now, as we are speaking, we want a country where everybody is able to participate, not to be discriminated on the basis of disability, religion, race. You can call all discriminatory, factors. But once we move together, holding on to our strength rather than our inabilities, then we will make Zambia a better place to live in for everybody.
Well, thank you so much. Would like to appreciate Dr. Kenneth Kapalu Muzata, who is the Associate Professor of Special Needs Education at the University of Zambia, for insightful contributions on the issue we've had, that is the evolution of cultural perspectives on disability in Zambia.
Doc, would like to thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you so much for this chat, and thank you to the listeners. Thank you.
All
right, thank you. Sure.
A lot of issues have come up, and